Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the clean and push press because I talked about it a few days ago when I was saying in a video that sometimes 1 to 2 exercises can be an effective full body workout. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a bit, and let's talk about this. Yeah, this is one of those exercises that I've been doing a little while myself, regularly, sometimes up to 3 times a week, that when done correctly, by itself can be a full body size, strength, and power builder. And it's all around a fantastic exercise. And as far as what you're using it for, it really depends. But it's one of those that if you keep the rep range and the intensities and the volume right, it can actually fill all of those roles. It can make you more explosive while putting size on you. And the reason I say the clean and push press, I don't mean that you need to clean the weight up every single rep, but let's say you're going to come in and do a bunch of triples. You're going to do 5 to 10 sets of 3 reps. If you clean the bar into position every single time, you're adding another performance element and working a lot of other muscles through the body that you don't work on just the push press. Because normally when you think about the push press, it is actually a full body exercise in its own right. It works most of the major muscle groups in the body. And you know, a lot of people think of it as being just a shoulder exercise or a tricep exercise, but the reality is when you break down the mechanics of it, the push press is obviously a fantastic tricep and delt exercise, mainly because you use, again, a cheating motion, but it's not really cheating. You're using a leg drive to get the weight started, but you have to take the eccentric of the load on the way down. So you're usually taking a weight that's a little heavier than you could strict press off of your chest, because remember that, guys, a proper overhead press is off the chest. You're using a leg drive to get it started. You're using, again, a lot of muscles to lock it out and drive it, primarily the upper chest, actually the entire chest, the front delt, the side delt, triceps, everything else. But then on the eccentric loading, the shoulders, the upper chest, and the triceps get an absolutely enormous eccentric load on there. And people do need to remember that eccentric loading and fairly heavy eccentrics do have their place in stimulating muscle growth. And that's something I always remind people of. They're not necessary for muscle growth, but they are a useful tool for muscle growth. And that's the difference there. Like anything else, they're just a tool in the toolbox. But they absolutely do have their role in that. And those muscles get a heavy eccentric load. But because of all the different movements involved in it, any overhead press off the chest, even before you add the leg drive, is going to work a large amount of the back, the trapezius, it's going to work your core, everything else. That's all included. So it really is a total upper body exercise, other than maybe the biceps are probably the only thing that don't get worked to some extent on that overhead press component of it. But remember, because of the leg drive involved, it actually gives you a heavier eccentric load on the lowering of the weight, which is a very, very valuable tool for hypertrophy. Again, it's not necessarily an amazing tool, but it is a pretty good tool. So you've got that to consider. Then you have the leg drive aspect, that little dip and drive that you do. In studies that have been done on the push press actually generates the most leg acceleration when it's been studied, which means that it is a power builder for your lower body. It's a power builder for the quads and for the glutes. It's a power builder for them. So you have this exercise that is a total upper body size and strength builder, and really good on the size end because of the eccentric loading. Then when you add that push press part to it on top of that, it becomes a leg explosive power builder. And again, a lot of strength and conditioning coaches have learned this over the years. Well, the thing to remember, if you're recruiting upper threshold fibers by training explosiveness in your legs, even if it's not full range of motion, and there is something to be said for full range of motion for developing size, but even if it's not full range of motion, you're still going to develop some size from it because there is very significant muscle fiber recruitment happening there. So the push press is in its own right, an absolute potent full body exercise. But what happens when you start doing low reps for high sets and you start throwing a power clean in? You're cleaning it up off the floor. Now, people would argue, well, you might only be using 70% of your power clean for that. You're probably capable of more. That's true, but what do we know from the data out there? Any lift in which you hit at least 70% of your max tends to recruit upper threshold fibers. And if you lift it more explosively, you can even go lighter and still hit all the available muscle fibers. Well, the power clean is a full body exercise also. All right, it's a full body exercise also. Now it hits a lot of the muscles harder that get missed on the push press. It's all, obviously it has its carryover to things like your deadlift. The power clean is an actual accessory to the deadlift, so it's going to help you with your deadlift because of the explosiveness off the floor. But the power clean works the glutes tremendously well. It works the hamstrings. Now it works all these other muscles. It works the quads and everything too, but you're reversing. You're going the other direction from what you're getting on the push press other than the glutes. So the hamstrings are getting more work on the power clean. The trapezius, the latissimus dorsi, the biceps, the brachialis, all of those muscles that don't get fully recruited on the push press get recruited on the power clean. So if you're coming in and doing quite a few sets of that, at 5 or more sets, you're still getting 5 singles from doing these cleans on the clean and push press. You're still training explosiveness, you're getting overall muscle fiber recruitment. And what people need to understand, the reason this is valuable to use in its own workout, what do we know about lifting weights and drug-free lifters, or people on very, very low doses of anabolics, people who don't abuse drugs? Muscle growth doesn't last that long after a workout. It doesn't last that long. You can come in and hit a muscle as hard as you want. I don't care if you do 5 sets or you do 10 sets using the same weight, or 15 sets. The muscle is only going to grow so long, and that upper threshold seems to be about 48 hours. All right, so you can come in and basically just destroy a muscle, and at most it's going to grow over 48 hours. But what happens when you take a fairly serious workout and you come back behind it a day or two later and you do just enough work to stimulate a tiny bit of growth in those same muscles that got worked? What happens? They start growing again. They don't grow just off of the current workout. The lighter workout that maybe didn't do as much, and in the case of even doing some power cleans, a few 7 or 8 singles of power cleans, which you'd get out of 7 or 8 sets of the push press, even with 70% of your max, can re-stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So your biceps are getting re-hit. So if a day or two before you had done some weighted chin-ups, some curls, and then the growth is tapering off, those power cleans can sometimes re-stimulate that muscle protein synthesis and re-feed and re-trigger some of the growth from that previous workout. They reinforce it. All right, if you had done some heavy deadlifts and your glutes and hamstrings and spinal erectors and traps and everything got a large amount of stimulation and the growth is now tapered off, what happens when you come in and do that stuff? You're re-stimulating it. So if you're coming in and in the middle of your workout, you're actually having entire workouts to where you're focusing on doing a fair amount of volume, meaning, 6 or more sets of 3 reps on this clean and push press. You're stimulating a lot of growth and power in that workout, but you're also re-stimulating every single muscle in your body. All right, that combination of lift right there works every muscle in your body, and because of the explosive nature of it, it will hit the upper threshold fibers. It will hit the full range of muscle fibers. So what does that mean? That means that it can be a separate stimulus workout that reinforces previous workouts. All right, so when you look at it from that perspective of what it can do for your total body, it can spark growth through your whole body, even based off of previous workouts that you had just done the day or two before. In addition to its own separate growth stimulus and the fact that this combination will train you to be extremely explosive. It can add a lot of power. It can add a lot of speed. And almost everyone who competes in anything other than maybe a physique-related endeavor wants to be stronger and more explosive. They want speed. They want power. There are benefits to that. Not just in sports or a playing field, but if you're in any real-life struggle or you have to run or sprint or jump or grab something quickly or you're forced to fight somebody. And hopefully that doesn't happen. But if it does, being faster and more explosive is always better than being slower. So there's a lot of advantages to doing that, and I think it's a fantastic way to train, and I think it's something that can be worked into its own workouts on its own. Meaning you could do it with other lifts in the same day, but if you were to come in and do a whole full body workout that consisted of nothing but doing high sets of the clean and the push press, it would actually be an extremely powerful training tool. It would actually count as a full body workout, and worked into a normal regimen or routine, it could actually have a lot of merit. It's something I've been focusing on myself for a while, probably for a couple months now, probably maybe more, now that I think about it. at least a couple of months. It's something I've been incorporating very, very regularly, and I'm making it one of the heaviest focuses of my training. But you could use it as a separate supplement as well. But it's something that I really have thought about over the years and realized it has a lot of effectiveness, and particularly for anyone who wants to be more athletic, more explosive, or even people who are just looking for just general size and strength. It's actually a very, very valuable tool, and that's something people could consider for themselves. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.